Legal drama and hip-hop are always a strange mix. More often than not, it unfortunately comes in the shape of rappers getting handed lengthy jail sentences that prevents them from moving on with their careers, tearing lives apart in the process. But this isn't the only shape it takes, as Drake has recently proven with his attempts to claim that there were some underhanded business dealings that led to Kendrick's Not Like Us becoming a success. There are occasionally moments where an MC might try to bring a lawsuit before the courts. Most of them don't get treated with quite as much disgust and horror as that one though. However, it's more often than not the MCs who find themselves as the ones who are being pursued for crazy sums of money rather than the other way around. And over time, there have been some wild reasons that they found themselves in front of a judge. It's your boy Louaista, and these are some of the most strangest lawsuits in hip-hop history. At times, it's not what a rapper has done, but what they've said that can wind up being the grounds for a court date, and one legendary MC that knows all about that is none other than Slim Shady. Eminem is known for his outlandish, unhinged bars that cover every taboo subject matter that you can think of. Coming out the gate swinging with the Slim Shady and Marshall Mathers LPs, which delivered such outrageous and daring lyrics that even his mentor, Dr. Dre, found it hard to believe what he was saying at the time.
The Marshall Mathers LP drops. On that album alone, his alter ego Slim Shady tied me up in the basement. He had sex with his mother, killed his daughter's mother again, while proceeding to offend about every special interest group.
But even when his songs were at their most deranged, he claimed that there was a reason behind them and he stood on it. So when he recorded a track like the warped murder fantasy of Kim, he never tried to hide it. You never would have thought, but I played it for her once we started talking. I asked her to tell me what she thought of it. I remember my dumbass saying, I know this is a fucked up song, but it shows how much I care about you to even think about you this much, to even put you in a song like this. Meanwhile, her response was understandably, are you fucking crazy? Eventually, she sued him for defamation over the track, which was then settled out of court. However, Kim wasn't the only woman in his life who took legal action over his bars, as after being at the center of several of his most vicious rhymes, his mom, Debbie Nelson, decided to sue. Back in 2000, she decided that she had enough. Among all of the people he went after, she believed that she bore the brunt of his wrath, which, in her view, wasn't justified. So she was suing for a whopping $10 million.
It does hurt. And God knows I don't deserve it.
According to her, this led to public harassment.
When you can't go to the mob for being spit on and being called, you disgusting pig, it's sad. Because people are passing judgment by listening to Marshall's songs. He needs to quit, making attacks on me. I mean, you don't do this to your mom. And it is so hard.
And when she found out that she couldn't reason with her son over the claims that he had a terrible life growing up, and that she was neglectful, she even decided to drop a strange diss track of her own.
It was wrong of me, and I see it now as giving you everything and never questioning anything you did, as you were perfect in my eyes.
But considering the vivid pictures he painted of his childhood, people have never exactly been willing to hear her out. She's definitely not neglectful. She cares about that 10 million. For someone who has been lying, he sure does describe in deep detail the pain you've inflicted upon him his entire life in his songs. The idea that maybe there was something to what M was saying was backed up by that once he could, he took over legal guardianship of his half-brother after he had been placed in foster care. When he was taken away, I always said if I ever get in a position to take him, I would take him. Eminem told Rolling Stone at the time. I tried to apply for full custody when I was 20, but I didn't have the means. In the end, Debbie's campaign to sue her own flesh and blood was settled in court and got a sum of $25,000, which she only received $1,600 of, while the rest went to legal fees. But more importantly, it led to the famous "fuck you Debbie" line on Without Me before he doubled down with the tell-all track Cleaning Out My Closet, in which he dedicated a whole track to discussing his issues with her. Despite everything that went down, the pair later reconciled on the track Headlights from 2014's Marshall Mathers LP 2. Eminem discussed his previous bars towards his mom in the song, where he claimed, I went in head first, never thinking about who I said I hurt. My mom probably got it the worst. All you did, all you said, you did your best to raise us both. Foster care, that cross you bear, few may be as heavy as yours, but I love you, Debbie Mathers. Oh, what a tangled web we have. Years on, Debbie seemed to have forgiven her son too, even congratulating him on the induction to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I want to say, Marshall, I could not let this day go by without congratulating you on your induction to the Hall of Fame. I love you very much. I knew you'd get there, and it's been a long ride. I'm very, very proud of you. And also, I'm very proud of Haley Jade, my big girl. And I want to tell you, Haley, great job on your podcast. And God bless you guys. I love you very much.
Sadly, Debbie passed on in December of 2024, and while M never publicly acknowledged her death, they were hopefully on good terms by then. However, while he made efforts to patch things up with his mom, that wasn't the case with everyone who sued him. And one of the most notable would be his former high school bully. While he was working as a janitor in Roseville, Michigan, D'Angelo Bailey suddenly became a household name when he was referenced by a former classmate of his who had suffered at his hands. On the track Brain Damage, Eminem discussed his experience with the guy, spitting, "I was harassed daily by this fat kid named D'Angelo Bailey, an 8th grader kid who acted obnoxious cause his father boxes. So every day he would shove me in the lockers. One day, he came into the bathroom while I was pissing and had me in a position to beat me in a submission. He banged my head against the urinal till he broke my nose, soaked my clothes in blood, grabbed me and choked my throat. I tried to plead and tell him we shouldn't beef, but he just wouldn't leave. He kept choking me and I couldn't breathe. He looked at me and said, 'You gonna die, honky.'" As opposed to being a fabrication, Eminem insisted that the torment that he felt at D'Angelo's hands was very real. "Motherfucker used to beat the shit out of me," Eminem said in an interview. "I was in 4th grade and he was in 6th. Everything in the song is true. One day he came into the bathroom, I was pissing, and he beat the shit out of me, pissed all over myself. But that's not how I got really fucked up." Then, there was another issue which landed him in the hospital. D'Angelo Bailey, no one called him D'Angelo, came running from across the yard and hit me so hard in the snowbank that I blacked out. He had a cerebral hemorrhage and was in and out of consciousness for 5 days, his mother said. The doctors had given up on him, but I wouldn't give up on my son. Initially, D'Angelo was happy to own this rep as his teenage enemy. "He was the one we used to pick on," says Bailey, now married with kids and living in Detroit. "There were a bunch of us that used to mess with him. You know, bully type things. We were having fun. Sometimes he'd fight back, depending on what mood he'd be in." As for Eminem's recollection of the event that put him in the hospital, Bailey boasts, "Yeah, we flipped him right on his head at recess. When we didn't see him moving, we took off running. We lied and said he slipped on ice. He was a wild kid, but back then we thought it was stupid." But after 1.76 million people heard that bar from Brain Damage in the first week alone, D'Angelo decided that he was no longer so eager to own that, and as a result, he sued Eminem for slander and invasion of privacy. But where his mom at least got off with some kind of reward, D'Angelo got pretty much clowned for his attempts to try and coax some money out of him. The fact that there may have been differences in the precise facts didn't matter because the gist of the story was true by Bailey's own admission. To begin with, the court cited song lyrics in which Eminem said the school principal stomped on him, leaving him for dead. Those lyrics, along with others, Eminem singing that his whole brain fell out of his skull, would not be taken literally by a reasonable listener. Then, as it was time to come to a decision, Circuit Judge Deborah Servito rapped her verdict. Seriously, check these bars out. Mr. Bailey complains that his rap is trash, so he's seeking compensation in the form of cash. Bailey thinks he's entitled to some monetary gain because Eminem used his name in vain. The lyrics are stories no one would take as fact. They're an exaggeration of a childish act. It is therefore this court's ultimate position that Eminem is entitled to summary disposition. With the case completely thrown out, people savored D'Angelo getting embarrassed all over again. Kinda satisfying, to be honest. The bully got fucked over again. But while it's easy to side with a rapper on this occasion, there are other situations where it's a little more of a gray area. Over the course of his career, Cam'ron and Dipset as a whole were known for their iconic style. And during the height of their legendary run in the early 2000s, there were some particularly cold fits. Most notably, from the era where Killa Cam started rocking a lot of pink. But it's one of those timeless stamps of Cam rocking the fur hat with the matching pink cell phone that landed him in some legal trouble. First taken by Jamila Cochran back in the day, this photo became a piece of internet heritage after first being taken at New York Fashion Week in 2003. Because of its status, Cam understandably put it on some merch, covering t-shirts, and a whole lot more, including shower, socks, curtain, and pillows. But there was one problem. Because even though it was an image of him, he didn't actually ask the photographer if he could use it in this capacity. So she decided to seek damages, leaving some people to think that she was overreacting while others saw her point.
For Cam, it's interesting because this is that picture.
Yeah, this is iconic.
This is the one. This is that.
I'm gonna say this. I hate it if one thing happened. if he paid her for that photo,
then it's a work. Then it's a work for hire situation, and it's clearly stated before everything goes forward. But if he did not sign that kind of agreement, then she owns the copyright to the photo.
The same thing happened with Jay-Z in the
and he would have to buy it or license it from her.
I hate that.
As it all transpired, people felt that there were loopholes he could exploit. All Cam gotta do is take a photo and recreate the same pose, and she can't do nothing about it. While some argue that getting sued for a pic of yourself is crazy, others argue that she did adhere to the correct protocol, leaving Cam without a leg to stand on. If they sent him emails over the years telling him to not use the photo, then they followed all the right steps. In the end, the court agreed with those who took Jamila's side, demanding that Cam handed over $50,000 for his unsolicited use of the image. Intellectual property can be a tricky thing, particularly when you're trying to work out where the line lies between fair use and copyright infringement. And in the case of Drake and 21 Savage's battle with Vogue, there was a sense that the whole thing was blown out of proportion over a parody. Back when they were promoting the release of their joint project Her Loss, the duo decided to take an alternative approach. Rather than go to all the usual outlets to release the project, they decided to just pretend they did with a falsified press run that included fake appearances on NPR, Colors, and more. And some of those who were parodied, such as Howard Stern, were actually happy about it.
So the recording artist Drake?
Yes.
He did this kind of interesting thing. Instead of doing a press tour, he made up a fake press tour and released it. Yeah. He's been sharing these fake video clips of interviews and performances and album covers he hasn't actually done. And then he even put out a clip of me interviewing him.
Wow.
He edited himself in to look like he was in our studio, and he's answering questions from me using clips from a different interview. Drake did such a good job that the news outlets are reporting on it as if it's real.
But one outlet that wasn't too pleased was Vogue magazine, even though he thanked its iconic editor as it went out. Me and my brother on newsstand tomorrow, he wrote in his caption, "Thanks at Vogue magazine and Anna Wintour for the love and support of this historic moment." He even called out the magazine and Jimmy Crooks, rapping, "Bitch, don't tell me you ain't modeled if you ain't been in Vogue." But clearly, the love and admiration only went one way. And soon, their parent company, Condé Nast, sued the rappers, seeking $4 million in damages on the grounds that the deceptive campaign violates intellectual property laws. This was another situation which had people split, as while some people felt they were overreacting, others saw their point.
If the biggest artist in the world did a spoof of your business, not the pod business, your business, and people thought it was real and they were presenting it in a light that you didn't see fit, then what would your response be?
It depends on what it is. It depends. Like what?
No, it don't.
He asking me.
Oh, okay, yeah. But it don't depend on what I'm saying. You didn't like it. It don't matter what it is. You didn't like how they represented your business.
It depends on to what degree. Like I would put a statement out that, or even if you put a cease and desist out, I wouldn't sue them.
If there was $2 million to be made,
they're Vogue. They don't need it. $4 million for Vogue is $4 for Vogue.
In the end, Drake and 21 Savage agreed to settle, with the amount that they paid to Vogue yet to be disclosed. And even though that was a ridiculous incident, it still wasn't even the tip of the iceberg when it came to the most ridiculous lawsuit Drizzy has been involved in. And no, I'm not talking about the UMG situation either. No, this time around, it's about his paternity prevention techniques. If you've listened to Drake's music, you'll know that he doesn't mess around when it comes to his contraceptive methods. With bars like, "Flush the magnums just so they not collecting my specimens," and "I got the sauce and now shorties keep claiming prego," it's become clear that Drake is aware that he could wind up with another baby mama drama scandal. But when he said that he had the sauce, not everyone realized that he meant it literally, or that it would result in this crazy tale where legal action was threatened.
There is a woman that is claiming that she's suing Drake because he put hot sauce in a condom. They were at a party, they had a romantic encounter, and after the party they went back to his hotel. She said a lot of things. He's 7 inches, this and that. And then she said he went to the bathroom, and then immediately after he went to go dispose of the condom in the bathroom, she went in there, untied the condom out of the trash, and put it inside her, and there was hot sauce in the condom.
Well, that's what she gets.
A wild story. It's one of the rare cases where even Drake's haters felt he was within his rights to protect themselves from being tricked into conceiving a kid.
If it went against Drake, you think the Mike Pence rule was extreme?
Yeah.
You think the Mike Pence rule was extreme? What are we ultimately telling men? Don't have sex with women unless you're married and willing to pay the cost. however a child is conceived.
In a similar vein, Kevin Samuels argued that it would send the wrong message in the event that she won that lawsuit.
True. He didn't intend to booby trap. He intended to secure. That's what I would argue. And I'd make the woman argue that her intent was to defraud.
Yes.
I heard a court of public opinion. And here's the thing, any dime she got, because there are so many men in courtrooms, in the halls of power, who can see they are potential marks too. And this was such a bad precedent. And like you said, Drake is not a gangster rapper with bad press. I mean, he did everything he could think of, whether it was right, wrong, or indifferent, to protect himself. And we're telling men that ain't good enough. Then you need to tell men what is good enough.
And almost unanimously, the public agreed. Stealing someone's genetic material to confine them into financial responsibility should be a felony. That woman is trifling. Unsurprisingly, everyone was happy to take Drake's side there. Because who in their right mind is gonna agree with a woman who tried to entrap a rapper into pregnancy? But one person that tried to tangle with a beloved figure in another field of entertainment and came out the loser is Hove. You remember back at the height of the Rockefeller era, when they had thrown up the diamond hand sign? Well, it turns out that if you went outside of hip-hop, that gesture represented something else entirely. For fans of WCW in the late 90s and early 2000s, that hand sign was synonymous with a grappler by the name of Diamond Dallas Page. Over time, the wrestler noticed the confusion and felt it was necessary to clear it up. So he hired a legal team to define his IP. People would come up to him and ask him if he was letting Jay-Z use it, or if he had licensed it to him. His lawyer said of the symbol, which his client claims to have created in 1996 and copyrighted years ago. People would also say he's using Jay-Z's sign. If you look at Jay-Z's encore video, you can see fans using the Diamond Cutter sign. And in the video of Diamond Dallas, if you only looked at the fans from both those tapes, you'd think it's the same person performing. Jay-Z and Rockefeller Records used this symbol to promote themselves, to promote their artists, to promote their music, and to promote their fan base. People have come to recognize Page by this symbol, and the way that it's being used by Jay-Z and Rockefeller is taking value away from it and creating confusion upon the public. Rather than diss him or even fight back, Jay eventually settled out of court in 2007 for an undisclosed fee. Thinking back, fellow NYC rapper Fabulous remembered it going down and suggests that's why the hand symbol faded into the background.
And I just seen on the internet too, Hove got sued for the rock side.
That's crazy.
From a dude from wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I guess obviously he trademarked the diamond sign because he was I forgot what, I think his name was DDP.
Yeah, Diamond Dallas Page. Yeah.
So his shit was something with the diamond. And he really sued Hove and won.
Yo, that's crazy. He can sue Hove and won. Yo, dog, DDP lawyers go crazy. You ever catch a case called Diamond Dallas Page lawyers?
That's why Hove don't be throwing
like this.
Later, DDP himself discussed it after the fact and suggested that there was no beef whatsoever, just a matter of business.
I'll put it like this.
Yeah.
I can't talk about the situation, but as far as I'm concerned, I got a lot of respect for that cat. But this is something I always felt like I started, and we settled our matter. We're good.
Yeah, I don't think it should have even been. It shouldn't have been no matter if he was upset. I don't know why he get upset with you, because everybody look up to you. When we see this, we think of DDP. We don't think of Jay-Z.
Yeah. It's all good. I kind of let go when that started. He was just a really big rapper.
He was just a young little boy when it started. When you started it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be hard to defend what you feel is rightfully yours in the court without it feeling like a personal attack. And that's what happened in a rare example where an MC was sued by another rapper. As two multi-platinum selling artists and producers, you'd likely expect that will.i.am and Pharrell Williams would feel a degree of common ground between them. But if they ever did, Will decided to cast that to the side when Pharrell launched his I Am Other project. In response, will.i.am's legal team quickly filed a lawsuit, claiming the I Am Other branding on clothing and merchandise was too similar to his own I Am logo. They argue that the registration on the mark is likely to dilute the I Am mark and the will.i.am mark. A few days later, Pharrell filed a lawsuit against will.i.am to prevent the Black Eyed Peas rapper from blocking his YouTube channel. And in interviews, he made it clear he didn't approve.
But what's Pharrell saying when asked about filing that lawsuit to stop will.i.am suing him for using the I Am brand?
I have no idea. Thank you.
The I Am Other mark means I am something else, leaving what that else is to the imagination of the customer. Pharrell's documents read. It certainly does not mean I am Will or in any way suggest defendants or the will.i.am mark. Although they tried to not make it personal, Pharrell did eventually speak out and touched on how he felt about it. I am disappointed that Will, a fellow artist, would file a case against me. Pharrell was quoted as telling Rolling Stone, "I'm someone who likes to talk things out, and in fact, I attempted to do just that on many occasions." As the heat increased on him, the former Black Eyed P then argued he wasn't exactly coming after him. will.i.am is not suing Pharrell Williams. Will's attorney, Ken Hertz, told Radio 1's News Beat, "What will.i.am has done is what any trademark owner must do to protect and maintain a trademark. This is a run-of-the-mill trademark dispute." But things just kept getting a little messier, as soon, Will's legal team attempted to use Pharrell Williams' involvement in a lawsuit over Robin Thicke's Blurred Lines, along with Williams' co-founding of a record label called Star Trek Entertainment, as evidence of his disrespect for intellectual property. Mr. Williams claims to have co-founded a record label called Star Trek Entertainment, which operates as a subsidiary of Universal Music Group, whose releases are distributed by Interscope Records. The name Star Trek Entertainment used by Mr. Williams is extremely close to the well-known trademark Star Trek, owned by Paramount Pictures Corporation and/or CBS Studios. Another example is Mr. Williams' use and attempted registration of the mark Pink Slime for use with various goods and services, which bears noticeable similarity to the mark Slime, used for decades and owned by Mattel Inc. Despite the kind of bad blood that this might have stirred up, the two eventually settled out of court. However, not every rapper is so lucky, and at the minute, one woman who was caught in the crossfire of a technical difficulty seems like she is out for revenge against 50 Cent. If you know anything about 50, you'll know that he's no stranger to litigation. During a recent appearance on $1 Million worth of Game, he even estimated the absurd amount he spent on lawyers over the years.
How much you pay for lawyers a year? Just
spend $1 million a year anyway. I spent $24 million in my career so far. I can't wait till I get rich. Just on lawyers.
From bankruptcy proceedings to business tactics, 50 has wound up in court for a whole lot of things over the years, but he likely didn't expect that accidentally striking someone with a microphone would be one. Well, during a date on his Final Lap tour, 50 would do exactly that.
And the video shows the rapper throwing his microphone into the crowd not once, but twice during Wednesday's show. One of those times he allegedly hit a woman in the head. She has now filed a police report. The rapper was reportedly upset because the microphones were not working. Law enforcement says they believe 50 threw the mics toward his production crew and it accidentally hit the victim.
The unlucky recipient of this blow was Power 106 host Brianna Mongane, who reportedly filed a police report on the night of the concert alleging criminal battery. According to the paper, the plaintiff was transported by ambulance to the Los Angeles General Medical Center Emergency Department for treatment of injuries, including but not limited to a concussion, laceration over her forehead, and pain in her left wrist, her lawyers wrote. The plaintiff complained about dizziness, headaches, light and sound sensitivity, and nausea, and continues to suffer from her severe injuries and emotional stress. While his lawyer Scott Lehman told Billboard that Curtis would never intentionally strike anyone with a microphone, he didn't realize that he'd soon be dealing with a lawsuit too. With Brianna seeking past and future wage loss, hospital and medical expenses, and other unspecified general damages, it isn't unclear exactly how much she's looking for. But if they can somehow prove it was done with intent, he could be looking at a big settlement. At the moment, people such as DJ Envy have came to his defense, suggesting the 50 you see antagonizing other MCs is just a gimmick.
But yeah, it's a terrible situation. I mean, there's no way in hell 50 would, like 50 is such a, I know everybody sees this big bully online, but he's such the nicest and caring person. So I know it was probably an accident. I know it was an accident. So, I mean, things happen. I mean, the sound man seemed like they messed up with the sound, and I mean, 50 wasn't aiming for her. And we seen 50 throw that first pitch in Major League Baseball game, and we see how crazy he throws. So, I mean, I know 50 didn't do that on purpose, and I know he's very remorseful when it comes to things like that. 50's a great guy.
But what likely won't help his case is that he has actually hit fans on purpose for the offense of grabbing at him. All the while, the game used it as ammunition to stoke the flames of their long-running beef. Curtis, yo fat ass come to LA to hit women. If it all goes wrong, 50 might be looking at his steepest lawsuit since he was ordered to pay $7 million in damages to Listonia Livingston, the baby mama of Rick Ross, who he distributed a sex tape starring her at the height of his feud with Rose. And speaking of the Teflon Don from Florida, well, he's no stranger to weathering a legal storm either, with his most notorious losing battle coming at the hands of one of hip-hop's most divisive media figures. Back in the day, Rick Ross made a real effort to try and keep up his mystique as a drug kingpin, and an important tenet of his plan to do that was to try and safeguard the fact that in real life, he had actually spent time as a correctional officer in prisons. Well, among the people who began to spread the news about Rose's real past was none other than DJ Vlad. And unsurprisingly, the MMG leader wasn't exactly thrilled about this. So this led to a showdown on the second floor of a Hilton hotel where Rick and his crew decided to rough him up. In the lawsuit that was filed after the fact, Vlad continued to stand on the fact that he was right and suggested he was lured into a false sense of security, claiming Ross, who painstakingly created his public persona to be that of a major drug dealer and gangster, in reality is a former correctional officer. DJ Vlad, an established and respected member of the music community, hosts a hip-hop news site which commented upon these facts. With calculated planning, Rick Ross lured DJ Vlad to a meeting for the purpose of obtaining retribution. At that meeting, Rick Ross's entourage of thugs carried out Rick Ross's wishes in his presence and severely beat DJ Vlad, causing permanent bodily injury. Ross and Ross's accomplices fled the scene together, while DJ Vlad laid on the ground bleeding profusely, during which time one of his attackers stated, "Yeah, motherfucker, that's what you get." The whole thing left him with 7 stitches below one of his eyes, a corneal abrasion, 3 facial fractures, and possible nerve damage. Rose was ordered to pay $300,000, with Vlad celebrating his victory afterwards. As an individual that covers breaking news in the hip-hop world, I'm grateful that the jury punished Rick Ross for setting me up, when all I was doing was covering the news and making commentary, Vlad said after the verdict was announced. But it's fair to say that even though he lost, Rose never seemed to take it overtly seriously.
It was an unfortunate situation. He was somewhere and he got his head bust. And yeah, they said it was like wide or something. I couldn't believe it. They showed me pictures. I was like, oh my God.
Oh man.
Wow. You know what I mean? Why would someone do this? You feel me? But yeah, the other dude they said, that, like, I saw a picture. I'm like, what is this? And they like, this is the guy. I'm like, wow.
Like something like Faces of Death or something.
Yeah, like he should have sued for $20 million. Wow. That was a $20 million head bust.
In fact, he actively laughed about it in radio interviews from around that time, as though it was nothing.
You understand? 300,000? I'm talking about this fight didn't even last a round. No. And I ain't even fight. I ain't fight.
Clearly, hip-hop artists being taken to the courtroom can result in some really absurd situations. And if you want to learn more about the Rick Ross and 50 feud that wound up bankrupting one of them, you can check out the video on the screen. It's your boy Louaista, and I want to thank y'all for watching today's video. As always, I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.